Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about low light filming, and the big question that everyone always asks, how do we get around it? Okay, so low light filming, first off, is probably one of the biggest pain in the butts. But if you can get around it, you can get some really cinematic shots and you can get some really awesome photos as well. I remember when I started out with my A6000? No, my Sony Nex5. When I started out with my Sony Nex5, when we started shooting video on that, we always had tons of grain in our videos. How do we get around it? How do we get that grain out of our image, and how do we increase that quality in those low light situations? So the first one is obviously find a light source. Find a big light source and get close to it. Because as good as technology is today, camera sensors simply can't see in pitch black. You want to go close to perhaps signs, you want to get close to street lamps or anything that you can get close to that you can use to illuminate your subject, because the camera needs that light going into the sensor in order to give it that information, which is, and the amount of light that comes in determines how good the image quality is and how much grain there is in the image. So I know that one is probably talked about a lot, but I can't stress the importance of it enough, because it can change your image from this to this. Okay, so tip number 2 is filming in 24 frames per second. So when you're in low light situations, what happens is the image is often way too dark by the time that you have doubled that shutter speed. The best thing to do in those situations is either get close to a light source and shoot your slow motion, or shoot in 24 frames per second so that you can get that extra exposure that comes at being at a shutter speed of 50, which will let more light in. So tip number 3 I'll combine into 2 because these are kind of well known, but I thought I'd throw them out there. Now your aperture or your f-stop, if you can get that to, if you have a lens that is capable of doing aperture of 2.8 or is capable of doing an aperture of 1.8 or even lower, you really want to stick with 1.8 or 2.8, and around there you'll start to get some extra light coming in. Additionally, with your ISO, you want to use this as a last resort, because ISO is artificially making the image brighter in your camera. So it does increase the grain in your image. Tip number 4 is probably one of the most important ones, and it is location. And I say location because you choose the location that you want to film in. So if you can think ahead and say to yourself, well, where is a place that has lots of lights at nighttime? Are there any events going on, or are there just any situations where we can go where there is going to be some light? For example, if we want to shoot at nighttime, it's going to be kind of hard to choose a location such as, a field in the middle of nowhere, where there is no street lamps, where there's no signs, where there's no, lights from cars coming past, there's no big buildings with lights coming off of them. Then it's going to be a little difficult, as opposed to being like, oh, well, the city has a lot of lights there. We could go there at nighttime, get some really cool night shots, and utilize some of the lights that are around the city. So just by thinking about location beforehand, you can save yourself the hassle of, and the stress that comes from trying to film at nighttime. Lastly, tip number 5 is see if you can get a hold of any artificial lights. If you do really want to go out to places such as, the desert, or you want to go out to a field and you want to go out to those nature places where there isn't much light at nighttime, but you still want to get some really cool photos or videos, then I suggest bring an artificial light. Sometimes when we're filming at a car park, or you know, a client says I want to film at a car park or a rooftop at nighttime, or I want to film at I want to film somewhere. I want to film I want to film in a warehouse where there's no light, or I want to film at nighttime just here where there's no light. Then the only real option is to bring artificial light, such as this 120D that is lighting me right now. You can make it portable, you can chuck on a battery on there, and you can bring it with you, and that'll act as your portable light source. Another thing that I have, which I'll grab right now and I'll show you guys. Okay, so these are the M50s. They're by Aperture, and they're small and really portable, but they output a ton of power. And I just got 3 of them, and I just chuck them in my backpack. It's really helpful to just have these and know that wherever you go, you do have a portable light source with you. It's literally the size of a credit card, and like not as thin, but it is very thin, and you can literally just slide it in your pocket. You can, you know, put some gaff tape on it and just, you know, chuck it on the wall and put it anywhere. You can chuck it on the ceiling, you know, don't actually chuck it, but it'll light up wherever you are pretty nicely. I've used it a lot on shoots, and it has saved my butt. I was about to say bum, but then I said butt, and I said it came out bumped. But hopefully that helps you out a lot, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, I can't reach. High five.